This job I had was literally like my dream job. I'm seeing true success, at least like money wise, with my content that originally I was just doing for free for fun. And now it's actually starting to make money or more money than my job, and with maybe 20% of my time. So if I can put 100% of my time into that, what is that even gonna look like? No matter how much you love your job or situation, like you got a sick gig too, it's like, I feel like you're almost doing yourself a disservice if you don't give yourself a chance to do this thing.
I think you got to give it a try, man.
You have to.
Both of you didn't have to ask for PTO to like come to the event.
We're retired.
Yeah.
Own boss now?
Recently retired.
What did it feel like when you were finally done?
Super surreal feelings. For a few days, it didn't feel like anything, you know? I think that first Monday that came around, I was like, oh, this is kind of weird.
Slack's not bumping on your phone.
I literally deleted Slack off my phone.
I did too. It was crazy.
I think if there's a certain brand or company you want to be doing stuff with, one, is my stuff at the quality? And then two, is it already like just a no-brainer? Like, I think you almost have to make it feel like the brand would be dumb not to want to work with you.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to episode 125 of the 505 podcast. We got a very special guest. We got Jayhawk, Johnny Hochstetler, back in the building for round two.
Dude, so hyped to have the boy Jayhawk back on the podcast. But before we start this episode, we do want to let you guys know that our new cohort is now live.
Dude, I am stoked, and you guys crush the creative side of things, but we want to help you with the business side of being a creative, how to market yourself, and how to land your dream client.
Well, both you and Jayhawk have crushed the business side of things, and that's why you guys were able to quit your full-time jobs and go full-time being a creator. We also just dropped a 3-minute audio-only podcast episode explaining everything that's included inside of the cohort, but as far as Jayhawk goes, this episode was awesome.
Dude, so he goes into his content calendar. He breaks down the YouTube, the Instagram, why he actually ended up leaving Ghost. I mean, dude, that's a sexy job.
It really is.
It is. And he kills it, though, with the content, talks about his process. We go into our little trip to Sony Kando, which was so fun. I'm hyped that I got to join you guys. Let's get into it, dude. Let's get this one-handed crack. Show me what you got. Round two.
Me first?
Yeah,
You had a really good one yesterday.
Yeah,
You had
yeah.
like a 9.8.
I've been
Horrendous.
practicing.
Did you see that?
I've been
it was
practicing.
I got a 9.6 and he got a 9.8.
It was good. Yeah, you know, it's like we've been practicing.
Yeah.
Okay, pull it off the table.
My last one was good, though.
You're kind of delaying the thing.
Well, you know.
Whoa.
What?
Start it over. You've started with your finger on the lid.
You got to pick it up.
You got to pick it up and then start.
My finger was not on the lid.
I think it was.
Okay, you ready?
Okay, go.
Nice.
Oh.
Nice,
That's
dude.
pretty good.
That
That's
was
pretty good.
great.
Look at that thing.
Dude, you have been crushing it lately, Jay.
Literally crushing it.
Nice.
3,
Yeah.
2.
What do you think?
Let me show you how to do it. Okay. You just
Okay.
pick it up. You look. I'm gonna look at you. This is a no look.
Okay.
Then you just go.
Oh.
And you just go.
Hes-
See,
hes-
There was a little
do
hesitation
you
there.
see how quickly
You couldn't
hezzy
find the
there.
Do you see-
tab.
I
and
was.
it's
It was from
all
the no
good.
look.
It's
It
a
was
little
from the
hezzy.
no
All
look.
right, ready?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Dude.
yeah.
I went to. I was really confident too, and just
You've been working out, haven't you?
yeah.
Dude, you guys are so bad at
What was
this.
that? What was that?
Cheers. That was like a. What? Let me see. Can I spin it?
Wait, one. And
I see to know if I beat him or not.
Double.
3-1 in the corner.
Okay,
You got it.
let's
for
go.
Sure. Here we go. Cheers.
Cheers, boys. Cheers,
Welcome,
boys.
dude. I
Fucking cheers.
finally got to go to Sony Kando with you guys.
Dude,
It was
fresh
kind of,
off it.
This is kind of a charity thing, but I'm glad I got to make
Dude,
it out
was,
for a day.
It was fun bringing your kid to work. You know.
Yeah.
How did it feel to be with the big dogs?
I felt very a part of the whole thing. You know, I felt like I was really in it. Got to test out the new 85.
What'd you think?
It was cool. It was very tack sharp. We went and did a little fiasco. You, me, and Jayhawk. We
Yeah.
went out to the beach,
Shot
shot
these
some
fucking
stuff.
sweet
Yeah.
hats.
Yeah, shot the
dude.
Lab Culture hats.
Do we get to keep these?
Yeah. These are
These are ours?
gift on the boys.
We don't have to give these back.
No.
Okay.
And if
But
somebody
you do have to,
wanted,
I'll Venmo.
if
request
okay,
it.
yeah. If you just invoice us.
Yeah.
Well, we probably could keep it even because I have to invoice you for taking the photos.
Oh, true.
You know what I'm saying?
True.
If somebody wanted to cop these hats, where do they get them?
Labculture.com.
Okay.
Oh, you got the domain.
Yes, sir.
So
Damn.
after the thing, the Sony Kando thing, I'm thinking I need to trademark the
Yeah.
one-handed crack.
For sure.
That is already in the works, dude.
Yeah,
Did
you
we
need it.
buy?
I bought the one-handedcrack.com.
Yeah.
Good.
But you
Yeah,
have to
need
act,
do
you
it.
have to trademark it though before someone else does it. And I found out that during that talk that we need to get that done.
Yeah, yeah.
ASAP. Do you have something trademarked?
So I've started that process, but it takes a long time. So
So they said 9 months.
yeah, because
That's-
basically you apply and then like it's like
So
9 to 12 months.
do you
right
think we need to get a lawyer to do it, or can we do it ourselves?
now. I was doing my stuff with like LegalZoom. So
Oh, you could do it with LegalZoom.
yeah, and then like it sets you up with someone. So
And they do it.
I mean, I'm learning this for the first time, but a buddy of mine told me that's
okay, that's the way to do it.
We do now know a lawyer that we could.
That's true. That's true.
It's so funny. What was your guys' favorite part of camp?
I think for me, so this year it was in Santa Barbara, which we were at the Ritz in Santa Barbara. I mean,
not
come
too
on.
shabby.
Yeah, I mean, just something light.
Yeah.
But I think the best part is just like, because I think there was like over 200 creators, and we were all in this really cool location, but it was a pretty like tight knit location. So I feel like it just opened up so many opportunities to just hang out and talk to people you've seen before, or just maybe you met them before, or just saw them online. So just being able to actually hang out with people and like finally like talk in person is definitely like the best part.
Is it weird for you guys when you see someone that you've seen like watch so much of
yeah.
their stuff? It freaks me out for a second. You like looking at their face and I'm like,
Yeah.
feels like you're gonna touch a hologram. Like,
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? It's
Or
so
or if
weird.
you're like talking to someone that like you've looked up to, or like someone that you've got a lot of inspiration from, and maybe you haven't met yet, and then they come up to you and they're like, "Oh man, like I love your stuff." You're
It's
just like,
crazy.
You're like, whoa.
I almost get mad at myself at not like, I don't think starstruck is the right word, but I kind of get nervous to go up to people. I'm like, dude, this dude just makes videos on the internet.
know.
And I'm like still kind of nervous to talk to him.
Yep. Yeah, this dude just sits in a room by himself too. But it's like,
talking to a camera.
Yeah.
It was funny. Everyone was so cool though. It was nice
Yeah.
to just like shoot the shit about, hey, you're doing this. And I feel like you can learn something from everyone.
wait, what was
there.
your guys' favorite part?
I think the last night, me and Braden talked to this guy named Curtis Morgan. Me and Braden have been following him for a while, and he makes some of the most insane video content and takes insane astrophotography. He was super cool. I think we're gonna go check out his studio in
It should be
Pasadena.
hype. It was fun.
Yeah.
I think that last night was just
Yeah.
fun. Just getting to hang out with everybody.
Well, I feel like the last day is like once like kind of the ice breaks already happened, so like everyone's just hanging out, having a good time.
And
So,
the
yeah.
food was pretty dank the
Yeah.
last night. Those
Yeah.
tacos slap.
I feel like Sony crushed it, like super well put on.
They did a
event, so.
great event. Hopefully next year I can be with you guys for more than a day.
Hopefully.
You guys got to talk to some people for me.
You know what I realized is both of you didn't have to ask for PTO to like come to the event.
Oh, come on, my dog.
That's a great segue.
Yeah, man.
Because you guys are retired.
We're retired.
Yeah.
We
Own
just
boss now?
Recently retired.
Threw
Yeah.
in the cap, dude.
About 5 weeks for me. How long has it been for you?
I think a little over a week, which is so crazy.
Crazy.
It's nuts though.
Dude, just trying to
You
give
didn't
you
even see it.
a
You didn't even see it.
I was looking left. I was looking left, dude.
unreal.
What did it feel like when you were finally done and you got home and you're just sitting in your spot? You're like, okay, what's going on now?
Dude, super surreal feeling. So yeah, I left my job about 5 weeks ago, and so the last day of work for me, I actually left for a brand trip. I went to London with Jaguar, so I timed it up kind of nicely. So it was so sick. So it was kind of like just for a few days, it didn't feel like anything, but I think that first Monday that came around, I was like, oh, this is kind of weird, like, yeah, I guess it's just time for me to do what I think.
Slack's
So-
not bumping on
Yeah,
your
you're like
phone.
expecting
No.
somebody to hit you up to be like, yo, Jayhawk, we actually need you to do this
you
one.
need to hop in this
Yeah.
meeting at
Dude,
10.
I literally deleted Slack off my phone. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
I did too. It was
feeling.
crazy.
Yeah.
It was funny because I went into the IT department and he's like, "You're gonna type in this code." They'll all just disappear. All the apps, like all the company apps.
Oh, wow.
And they were just gone. They would just like. I remember I was still in the building. I like pressed Slack one more time. I'm like, damn. And then when I got in my car, it was gone.
Yeah.
It was
Are we
all-
going to need to do a 505 Slack?
Yeah, I got to change the chime though. The chime gives me
Oh,
PTSD.
yeah.
That Slack sound is just. I'm like, oh shit. Like,
Yeah, dude, I've been using Slack for like, I don't even know, like 10 years, I feel like, within different companies.
yeah.
Yeah. But
So-
it's cool.
How do you feel like you're scheduling your day now that you're in control of all the time?
Totally. Yeah. It's something I'm still trying to figure out for sure. But I think, since I've been within different like companies and organizations now for, I guess, yeah, about like a little over 10 years, I'm pretty used to like having to have a schedule, whether you're following other people or even with my most recent job, I help lead a team. And so I feel like I kind of need some sort of structure to still be like productive. But I'm trying to kind of schedule like real life stuff too. Like even like just knowing when I'm going to hit the gym that week or when I'm going to hang out with other people or how I'm going to spend my time. So I'm really just still trying to kind of dial it in. But yeah, I'm really kind of working on structuring my day so I know when I need to do stuff by and everything, because I think obviously, right, like outside of like brand deals and like they give you deadlines, now working for yourself, like we're all putting out content that's not for brand deals, like just about things we want to do, right? No one's telling you when that video's due or when it needs to happen. So kind of structuring myself so it's still, you know, I treat my content like a job within itself, I think is going to be really important. But
you have to, like,
for sure.
I feel like you have to almost hire yourself as your most important like freelance client in a way. Did you feel like a huge weight lift off your shoulders? I know you were telling me that like you went to Hawaii and your girl was just like, man, you feel like almost like a different person, even though it can be scary to like, you know, quit the full-time job, go all in on your own thing. But it's a pretty liberating feeling, is it not?
It was just so different, you know, because, and I'm sure you can relate, and even like you in your past is like, I was kind of just doing like the double duty thing for so long, like working a full-time job and then working on my content in the evenings, weekends, or like any of my free time. Even like most of my PTO has been to go do things like Sony Camera Camp or Condo or these different things. So it's like finally like kind of be able to just have one thing be the main focus instead of like two was, just like a huge, I think like not even like a relief, but just like such a change of pace. It was like refreshing, you know?
Because I feel like I'd clock out of work and then it's like I just open another door. I'm like clocking in.
Yeah.
Clocking in a job,
for sure.
job number 2. Here we go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Talk to us, because both of you guys had been trying to do that double duty for a long time. And what comes with that double duty is some sort of sacrifice, right? Sacrifice free time, maybe some weekends, you know, going out. It's kind of similar to when you're in college, they have like the triangle, right? Of like, okay, you can either have like a great social life, a lot of sleep, or good grades, but you can't really have all three. So how was your guys' experience trying to balance having a full-time job and creating stuff for yourselves?
You go first.
Me? Okay. I think it was tough to balance because let's say I was at home and I made 7 videos that week. People at work would be like, yo, that thing was due on Friday. Like when did that, what are you doing all this other stuff? So I think perception was a tough thing to balance. Just in any environment, I think that's hard. If you're at a full-time job and you're doing a business or something and it starts to pick up, I think that automatically, that's just like intrinsic of like, hey, where you doing all this? Or like you're working really hard on this thing. Are you working hard on this other thing? So it was that was like tough to balance. And I think that I purposely didn't, I for sure didn't make as much stuff as I could have made because I think that if like my cadence was 5 times a week and you know, you're not bringing a great idea to a meeting or something, it's just like tough. And I'm sure a lot of you guys feel that way, that maybe you've been at a job or you left your job. It's a tricky thing to navigate. And I think I did it to the best that I could. And like, I was very hard on myself though. And that caused me a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety of being like, you see your friends that are in this space that we're all boys with, or like your girlfriends that are in content creation, whatever. And you're like, man, they're just firing stuff off consistently every single day or like 5 times a week. And then I feel like that stress and anxiety would come from me seeing people doing it, knowing I can also do it too. And then being like, man, but if I rip this, you know, what's this conversation going to be like, you know?
It's also got to be a little frustrating for you being like, I could make some sweet stuff of the Lakers for my social, but I don't know if that's like.
Well, yeah, then it's like, oh, you have to make it for the brand.
Yeah.
You know, I couldn't be like at home. I'm like, oh, I'm just using all this shit. You can't do that, you know, and that's not your job. Your job isn't to build your brand, right? But so then I think it's also hard to get creative sometimes too, because you're draining your juice at work, right? Which is your job. You have to do that. You got to go show up.
Priority.
Yeah, it's priority number 1, right? Priority number 1 is to get the work done at your job, make it as great as you possibly can. And then you come home and I would just feel exhausted because it's maybe 6 o'clock now. I've maybe went to the gym. Now it's 8. And you know, you want to,
maybe was a key word.
Yeah, it's
maybe maybe went to the gym.
10 o'clock, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, he's
working
funny.
out for 4
he's
hours.
Funny, dude.
Yeah.
He's funny.
More times than I didn't go to the gym.
I was there. I lived there, and it's all good. But yeah, you come home and you are not energized at 8 or 9 o'clock.
Yeah,
and I feel like you can feel that if I go back and look at the content. I'm like, damn, you look like shit. You look exhausted.
Yeah,
and I am exhausted. You know. And I remember someone commented once on mine and once on yours when you were doing content.
Yeah.
Like, a buddy looks tired. You're like, bro,
Yeah, no shit.
I'm exhausted, dude.
I think I had someone comment maybe like a couple weeks after I left on like, I think it was like just a vertical video or something. They were just like, man, you're looking great. Like it looks like you, like your health is really like a priority again, you know? But it's like, it's true because so many of these times, especially with your travel schedule, it was like, you know, I had a pretty crazy travel schedule too. I think yours was probably even crazier, but it's like, yeah, some of this stuff, especially in my space, when I'm doing like tech and things, there's a lot of like importance on timing. So like even like, let's say a new iPhone drops, like the sooner you can get stuff out, there's somewhat of an importance to that, you know? And so I can tell you how many trips I've had over the past like 8 years where it's like, oh, I want to be unboxing this on the day of or start making content right away. But it's like, I'm on a shoot for the next 4 days. And it's like,
You're not doing it in your hotel room.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And it's just like, okay, well, I got to just like know that that's all I can do right now. And it's someday I'll be able to do that. So now I'm finally in that position for sure.
Wait, Braden, you said the cohort is live now?
First link in the description.
They got to go check that out.
ASAP.
Back to the episode.
Boom.
But going back to your question about like the sacrifice thing, I think for me, a lot of the sacrifice was just time, honestly. And like, it's kind of like going back to your triangle thing. Like I think of like relationships, whether it be significant other or even friends. Like, yeah, I can't tell you how many things on the weekend in Chicago or evenings where like friends are doing whatever. And I'm just like, hey, like, sorry, I'm literally like working on this video. Or especially once I started doing more and more brand deals, it's like, I have a deadline I have to do this by. So you have to be with understanding people and have understanding friends and know that there's, you know, maybe it's not going to be like that forever. But I think also just not even like that, like for yourself, yeah, you're making sacrifices sometimes for like not getting the best sleep or like not being the most consistent in the gym because it's like for example, like, yeah, I don't know, sometime recently I had a lot of trips lined up and I had like one day at home and it's like, I got 2 brand deals I got to work on. And it's like, am I doing that? Or am I like going to the gym, making food? So it's like, it's hard to balance it all, but I think there's a lot of sacrifices for yourself, for your friends, significant others, but also, you know, I think there are like those peaks and valleys where sometimes you just kind of have to dig deep for a little bit, knowing that it'll pay off in the long run. And I feel like anyone who's in like a successful role or has gotten to a certain level, I guarantee there's been those times for them where they just had to like dig deep and like suck it up for a little bit.
I think that's just kind of part of it.
For sure.
Yeah, you have that quote on your wall, like that Mamba mentality quote, bro, but it's like, I know obviously we're not playing basketball.
Yeah.
We're making, I mean, sometimes.
We are kind of Coopers. Yeah.
No, but like you kind of have to take that mentality to anything that you do. And it's like, I got to dig a little deeper right now. I got to get this thing done. Otherwise it's never going to get done. And the dream won't happen, you know? And I think if you're in a job right now and you want to bounce or you want to go do your own thing, or maybe you want to move places, you kind of got to really set your mind to long term. Otherwise it drives you crazy. And I think you can become sour to a great situation, you know? And like, I had to remind myself of that when like I said no to a job that would be like my month's salary. Right. And that's got to, I'm sure you have the similar situations, right? Where you get a job come in and it's on the 17th. I'm like, I have a game that day. And it's a Saturday or it's a Sunday. And I'm like, I should have the day off. That's not how that works. This is what I signed up for. And you got to say no or give it to a buddy of yours. And it like, then you start thinking about that. Then it happens again. And you're like, man, I'm missing out on like growing my professional career as well at the same time, you know? And it's like, this weird balance. Have you set aside do you use Google Calendar? Do you use time blocking? What has been helpful for you?
Yeah, so I'm definitely still trying to figure it out exactly. But yeah, I mostly use like Apple stuff. So I use like just Apple Calendar. Reminders is huge for me. That's kind of like my to-do list stuff. And then like Apple Notes is kind of like my 3.
Do you do it the night before?
So I've been trying to. So lately, I'm trying out some different stuff to see like kind of what works for me. But even like a week and a half ago, I did something for the first time because usually a lot of times for me, if I have one evening to work on stuff or like one day, you know, I'll come up with ideas, then shoot the content and edit it kind of all in one. But instead, I knew I had this Hawaii trip coming up. So I was like, I'm going to be gone for like 6 days, home for 1 day, and then here out in LA for 7 days. So I was home for 1 day and 14 days. And so I'm like, okay, like now I'm full time. Like I can't just not post for 2 weeks, you know? And so I kind of had one weekend to really like get cranking on stuff. And I decided to do something I haven't usually done before. And I spent one day really kind of like ideating and figuring out, finding inspo, what I was going to make, maybe even some of the stuff. Like I would write out like a loose script. I don't really do scripts, but like bullet points, and like really had like 5 or 6 ideas done, and then I even started shooting a couple of those that night just because I was done. And then the next day I shot all the other ones, started editing. And then by the time I left for my trip, I had 7 videos done on my phone ready to post. And I was just like, this is such a good feeling, like getting ahead of it, And actually Tom Noski is the one who I got that from, where I think he's somehow going to like a coffee shop and literally putting the same song on loop for like 3 hours. And he's like locks in. And all of a sudden, he's just like writing out all of his ideas and stuff. And it's kind of interesting to like have dedicated time for just certain pieces of it instead of just trying to like mash it all together. So that's been great so far. But yeah, I think I really like the idea of time blocking, and that's something where I want to do more and more of. And something for myself, like I'm really big into fitness, and it's been a little bit on the back burner for the last however long. And so I'm just trying to kind of start structuring my days like, what's a dream scenario,
What does it look like? Paint it for me. Sure.
Well, I think for me, I would love to just wake up and get like a workout done first thing in the morning.
What time?
Let's see. We're going like all the way. I'm probably up by like 6:37.
I'm beating you there.
Well, I'm Central Time, so I'm probably there before you. And so yeah, get some workout done in the morning. Maybe like little protein smoothie after that. And
what's in the smoothie?
This is an important question.
Okay.
Scoop of protein, usually a peanut butter flavor thing, like the Nutter Butter one's fire. So scoop of protein, frozen banana, a little bit of ice, honey roasted peanut butter, creamy, and then local honey, and that's the jam.
The honey,
Clip it.
The honey, yeah, the honey's the
Clip it.
That's the big one.
Yeah, you're welcome. That's good.
So go work out, get a good workout.
Because I think we're all like into that space, and it's like, if you get that done in the morning, it feels like a big thing out of the way, and usually you're feeling great afterwards, and I think that just carries over into everything.
There was a time where I was working out at like 11 or 12 because I don't get hungry first thing in the morning, and I was like, I feel more energized and could get a better workout if I had something in my system. I then switched it to just knocking it out first thing in the morning, and you feel more energized. Like I'll wake up, the alarm will go off and be like, dude, I do not want to get out of bed. You force yourself to go to the gym. You get some movement going. You're like, okay, that was knocked out. Like probably the hardest part of my day. I feel energized. Like, let's get to work.
Isn't it ironic? You just beat the crap out of your body and then you feel better after. You're like, wow, I feel great. All these endorphins are flying.
Oh, for sure. Well,
so weird.
And I don't know if you guys feel the same way, but like, let's say like, okay, it's a Tuesday and I'm like, I'm working out today, but it'll be later. I'm going at, 4:00. That entire day is kind of like looming over you a little bit. That's like, oh, like, okay, yeah, I still got to get that done. I still go do that. And then you got a time like, okay, kind of when am I eating lunch? When am I doing whatever? And then let's say you finally like kind of get in the sweet spot of working on stuff, or you're getting feedback from a client, and all of a sudden like it's so easy to like push it out of the way.
Yeah.
So I think if you can just get it knocked out in the morning, it's such an important thing. And I think we all agree, yeah, it carries over into just how you're feeling, how you talk to a camera, how you're editing, all that stuff.
Dude, your body is that vehicle. You know,
it's crazy. Like sleep and
sleep and working
taking care of your body.
Yeah, who would have thought?
Really important.
Eating 3 meals a day.
It's weird,
but
being locked in.
It's important to find what works for you. You know, like just because we're saying that, hey, we like to wake up, you know, and work out first thing in the morning. Maybe that doesn't work with your schedule, or maybe that's not when's best for you to work out. I think it's important. Like if you are, you know, going from the transition from having a full-time job where it's like, you're on their schedule to like now making your own schedule, try a few different things out, similar to making content. You know what I'm saying? Like try a few different things, see what works for you. Just because it works for somebody else doesn't mean you need to do that same exact thing.
I wish I would have prioritized my health more though.
Yeah,
I feel like during
it's hard.
So hard, dude. I think the last year I did the best job of it, and on the road I was talking to the trainer's name's Randy, and he'd be like, yo, like you just gotta wake up and go do it, dude. Cause he's like, we're gonna get tired. You're gonna be in the city at 3 a.m. He's like, it's the last thing you want to do the next day in the morning. He's like, just bang it out and let's just like keep going with the day. And I tried to do that on the road as much as I could. And you just feel so much better. And like, I can't express it to you guys enough. Like, dude, either hoop, Pilates, yoga, workout, go, do something physically active, maybe 4 or 5 times a week, and everything else will get W's, man. Because you'll feel way better, you'll look better, like you'll show up more present, more confident on camera. And I think it just trickles into, and you'll just be happier if you're on set or you're editing. You're just gonna be like a happier camper.
It sounds so obvious, and it's like, yeah, why haven't we all done this all the time? But it's easy when you're trying to do so many different things, and also you're talking about trying to keep everything like okay, like your professional work first priority. Maybe then after that you have your personal content, then you have relationships, significant other, friends. Okay, I want to eat healthy. Okay, I want to be consistent in the gym. If you're having like a shoot week, you got a bunch of shoots lined up, and then you're trying to also hit the gym every day, you're probably not spending that much time with your girl or guy, whoever, and your friends. So it's like something has to give at some point. And so that's just kind of like the balance of like having to make those decisions sometimes. And I think also doing the double duty thing, which I think a lot of people can relate to, is you just know everything's not going to be perfect in the number one priority. It's just not possible.
Yeah, and I think that's one thing that was so hard for me to do is you make a video and I'm like, this could be way better if I scripted it out. It's funny because on the topic of scripting, I think I saw this on a Colin and Samir pod that Ryan Trahan wakes up in the morning and writes 10 ideas every day or something like that. And it's something that I want to mess around with. Like your brain is fresh as right when you wake up, maybe just go get my little yerb, go out in the balcony, try to write out 10 decent ideas for that week. And because like, dude, beforehand, especially with the job, I'm making the video that same day, cutting it, putting it out. Awful way to have to do it. I hated doing it.
Yeah,
it's just not fun. And it like you feel stressed to put it out and you're like, oh, I got to get it done by 5 or 6. There's that window where I feel like most people are going to be online. And I want to do what you were saying, where you conceptualize them all one day, then I film them all, and then either have someone help me cut the A-roll, and then I can go back and tighten it up. And it's just like getting systems in place for that stuff.
I like the idea of ideating just a ton of ideas in one day. I think a big pain point for a lot of people when wanting to make content is like, what do I make videos about?
Totally.
And if you can come up with a bunch of ideas, okay, great. Now let's focus on scripting and how I want to like outline those videos. And then now let me film them. And if you're right, if you can get a system down, it's going to be a lot easier. But you brought up how, just lost my train of thought.
Land that plane.
Okay, I'm going to land it.
Come on. Oh, it's in the air, dude. 15,000 feet. We're going down.
Shit,
10,000. 7,000 feet. 5,000.
You just brought up something.
Yeah, he brought up something good.
Okay.
You got it.
Whew.
Kid found it.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Oh,
Let's
found
go.
It.
Okay,
We're at 500 feet, dude. We're almost coming down.
Dude, it was in my pocket,
passed
dude.
out.
I was looking all around. You brought up how there would be times during having a full-time job of, getting some sort of freelance gig and being like, this is a lot of money, but I can't take it because I have this full-time job.
God, it made me sick.
Right?
Oh.
We were talking on the car ride back of how there would be some months where like you would generate more income from your digital products or brand deals compared to your full-time salary. So when was that moment that gave you the confidence of like, hey, this social stuff is working. I'm making some decent money. I think if I put my full-time energy into this, I could really turn it into a full-time career.
Dude, yeah, that was a crazy time because I think, for me, right, like my job, this job I had was literally like my dream job. And like, if you go back and look at when I first accepted and everything, it was such like where I wanted to be for a really long time. And so for me, even when I first started really seeing like traction from like monetizing my content, it still didn't really matter that much because I was just loved what I was doing so much, So I was like, this is sick. I'm also making that much. Oh, when I first saw a month where I made more than my job, I was like, wow, that's a crazy feeling. But also I'm like, this is sick. We're making like some money. But then I think as, time went on and my stuff was still being successful or even sometimes more successful, then I think it's like it starts clicking in your head where you're like, oh, okay, I'm seeing true success, at least like money wise, with my content that originally I was just doing for free for fun. And now it's actually starting to make money or more money than my job and with maybe 20% of my time. So if I can put 100% of my time into that, like what is that even going to look like? And so that's an interesting thought. And then so, yeah, as time goes on, you know, especially when you're working on this side gig for years and like a passion project where all of us, right, we ate shit for how long, where you saw no money for years.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you're like, wait, I can just make a video on something that I think is cool and that can like pay my rent for the month. Like that's an insane thought. So I think for me, just as time went on and that was more successful, I just wanted to see what my potential could be if I put my entire effort into that. I also just feel like no matter how much you love your job or situation, like you got a sick gig too, it's like, I feel like you're almost doing yourself a disservice if you don't give yourself a chance to do this thing.
I think you got to give it a try, man.
You have to.
You can't sit back and wonder what that would eat away at me.
And I think everyone has a window of time, you know, like I'm sure you could still figure it out whenever, but like, yeah, you got to strike when it's hot, you know? So,
and I didn't want to have like a kid. I didn't want to have a mortgage or something where it's like, I have these huge priorities that I'm like, I got to feed this other human being. It's like, okay, I can do it now while I'm younger and I can try, mess up. And you still have these hard skills, bro. You know, I think people forget that. Like if you have a degree or you have like a trade or you have something that you know that you could teach to somebody, you can make money online now, which is wild. You're a fitness trainer. You can host an online program. You could teach clients virtually. You could have a small gym that you train people out of. I think there's so many ways to get to the number that you want that'll allow you to jump. And let me ask you this. Did you save some bread and you don't have to say a number, but did you save money aside and you're like, if I get to this number, I'm chilling and I know that I'm safe for a few months. Like, did you do something like that?
The saving money thing was definitely important to me, but it was more for me, I guess, kind of like more just timeline. Like in my head, I knew I wanted to like just kind of take that leap. So that was kind of like priority number one for me. But obviously I wanted to try to set myself up for success, but also not even necessarily what all I had saved, but also just what kind of like started being my average like monthly income, whether it be passive stuff or deals or whatever. I think maybe this is getting too far ahead, but a big goal for me is to be able to just live comfortably just from all the passive income stuff, whether it be affiliate sales, digital goods, all that stuff. And then brand deals and things like that are just like the cherry on top, which we know can be a pretty fucking huge cherry on top. But if I don't have to rely on anyone else but myself, like that's the goal. And then everything else on top of that is just like a plus.
It's owning the distribution.
For sure.
Yeah. And I think a lot of creators want to get to that. What advice do you have for someone, because you've built a successful digital product, like what made you kind of come up with this idea and maybe why do you think it's done well?
Yeah. I've had a couple, or, you know, at this point I've made like several digital products. A couple have done like the best. But like, let's say like my overlay pack, I need to work on a second one. I'm like halfway done with it. I just need to like sit down now I have the time and like really knock it out. But especially like, dude, I guess like a year and a half ago, maybe, or even 2 years ago, I just started kind of implementing the stuff within my content. I wasn't selling it or anything. I was just putting it in my own edits. And at this point, right, there's so many different digital packs and it's even more saturated than it was at the time. But I just had a little bit of a different look and feel that I wanted for my stuff. So I literally just started putting it in my content. Didn't even have the thought of ever selling it. And then more and more people were like, hey, yo, what pack did you get? Like, where can I buy that? You know, where can I get that? And I mean, it got to the point where I probably waited too long to release it. But then so many people were asking, like literally daily. My stuff was like popping off every single day at that point. And so it was just kind of the perfect storm where everything kind of aligned, where I finally had the overlay pack ready. My Instagram stuff was just, every video was getting like 100K, it felt like, at least. And then I was seeing a ton of growth on Instagram. I then put out a YouTube video talking about my strategy on growing on Instagram, which was a very easy video to make because stuff was just popping off at the time. And that just happened to be the video where I plugged the overlay pack for the first time. And so I'm posting on YouTube how I'm growing on Instagram. That video starts popping off. All those people are not only going to go follow my Instagram, I'm also in Instagram now pushing people to the YouTube video. And every single video, if you go look at any piece of content on my page, the bottom line of it will say it's edited with either my preset pack if it's photos, or if it's a video, it's either using my overlay pack or like my LUT, whatever. So every piece of content I put out is almost marketing for the digital goods anyways. So it's just a perfect storm of everything popping off at once. And it was a couple crazy months. So
Dude, I think creators need to take your advice though and make something and sell something that makes your life easier.
Oh,
because if
yeah.
it makes your life easier, it's gonna make 100 people's lives easier, 1,000 people's
Well, and it
lives
sounds
easier.
so obvious, but
Yeah.
like if you're making content like digital goods, or even like now I'm starting to get into physical goods, if you make something that's genuinely something that you integrate into your content or your life or whatever, it markets itself. Because I wear a hat in every single video. Because I mean, some people literally think I'm bald. Like I get those comments probably like a couple times a week, and I'm just like, listen, I have a full head of hair. I just like wearing a hat.
Dude, they asked me if my hair transplant sucked. Someone DM me that. They're like, was it that bad? And I'm like, no, dude, it was great. It's
great.
I sent them a photo. They're like, oh shit, why do you always wear a hat? I'm like, I just like rocking a hat.
It's
dude.
like- it's like
I just
wearing a
like
hat.
rocking a hat.
But it's the same thing whether like now I'm coming out with hats or like what I drink or, you know, what I'm wearing. Like if it's so genuine, it's what you actually use. Like think about that for your digital goods too. It's like, this is what I actually use to edit my photos. So it's like, if you want to edit like me, it'll give you like a start to get there too.
And this brand that you're building, Lab Culture, pretty sweet name.
Thanks, dude.
How did you come up with the name?
Dude, that's a good question. Well, I feel like for me, I think all of us, right? Like always are like saying we're in the lab, like we're working on shit. And like, I think that also transforms more than just the content space. I think it's big in our space, but even like, you know, basketball players, like any sort of athlete, like a lot of people can relate to that. You know, I knew I wanted lab to be part of it. And I wanted to, at least for my stuff, when I started to kind of go down this route of wanting to start my own brand, I didn't really personally want to go the merch route. And I don't think there's anything wrong with the merch route. I mean, people like, I know Nick Merckx made like X million dollars when he did like a pre-order for his latest merch and stuff. And so it's the possibility of merch is just insane. So no hate on that at all. Just for myself, because I've been part of so many brands before and I've been a fan of so many people. Like I know we bonded over like loving Christian Guzman with like Alphalete, and like that's how I liked Max and Charlie and all these different people in space, like documenting a journey of building something. And I always, that was just an interest of mine. That's even why I actually liked Ghost to begin with. So I knew I would kind of want to not go down the merch route. I wanted to make something that is something I genuinely wear or use whenever I get into more things, not just clothing. But that way it's something that kind of other people can get behind too and want to be part of. And I think that's a really cool and kind of like fun route. So I don't know. I threw around so many different ideas and names for a long time, but then somehow culture came and I was like, Lab Culture. Like, okay, that kind of sounds like sick. And it sounds like something people could get behind. So it sounds sick. Shout out to George Heaton.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. I will say, I would be like watching your content and I saw your neon sign and I see you like talking about Lab Culture. I had no idea at the beginning that it was your thing. I was like, man, where do you get that neon sign? It's pretty sick. So kudos, because I think the name is fucking awesome.
Thanks, dude. Yeah, it's funny because I've now been teasing it for probably like 9 months. And this was also because I knew at some point I was going to do this. I didn't have an exact timeline. And I knew also it was just way too much to even go get started with it while like this whole thing wasn't my priority, you know? So I was like, I'm going to get a few samples just to see if I like this stuff. And I'm just going to start wearing it in my content, you know? Again, similar to the overlay pack for weeks and even months now, where I didn't even say I was ever going to sell this. I was just wearing it in all my videos. And then I decided to get the big custom neon sign with it. So it just kind of became part of my brand. And the same thing where I don't even have to talk about it. It's just somehow a piece of, or it's a part of every piece of content I make. And then so now it's to the same spot where over the last month or 2 months, I get so many comments or messages being like, yo, where can I get that hat? When are you dropping that hat? And then so once I started kind of teasing, like it had its own page and all this stuff, like a lot of people are interested in it. So like right now I'm getting ready for like the first launch, which is going to be super small, just something to kind of get my feet wet, make sure honestly I can figure out the whole Shopify thing. Just I want it to be a good experience. Like, and so it's just going to be a small kind of like hot drop to get things started with a few hats that I wear all the time. And then that's just going to be the start for everything. But yeah, it's exciting. It's a very new thing, but I'm also excited to kind of like make content around this stuff because it's just something that I'm passionate about.
Okay, this is a question for both of you guys. Obviously, it's awesome that you've now quit your full-time job, doing your own thing, going all in. What benefits are there to having a full-time job? And would you recommend it to people? Like, do you recommend somebody get a full-time job and then try to do your own thing? Or do you think it's more beneficial to just go all in on your own thing from the get? What are some of the things that you guys have learned and taken away from having a full-time job?
I just think I didn't know how a business really operated.
Sure.
And I was like, I started a company while I was in school, had an LLC, was making random decent money. Like every few months I'd get like a cool job and I'd be like, oh, okay, I can pay like my rent this month at this house that we're living at. But mom, I don't need rent this month. That was kind of cool. And like, you leave, you graduate, and I tried to start a business, and I just don't think I really understood and had that technical background that I needed to know. Like, I was really good at making videos or decent at making videos, but I was lacking, the conversation on the phone, how to make sure that they're having a great experience working with me, and just like the back and forth of these emails, knowing how to write a good email, knowing what to say, how my website should probably show up and look like if I want to compete with brands of said caliber or whatever. And working in-house, I think, was a great way to see, like at any company you go in-house to, there's going to be things you love, things you don't like, right? And I think you can take these things that you love, and if you talk to other people that are other businesses, they'll tell you how they run and how they operate, and you can take one little thing from them, one place from this place, and you get to kind of get this huge melting pot of information when you learn how great companies work. And I feel like we were at great companies that knew what they were doing, and they're successful in their respective field. So you can take, oh, this is how they organize their org chart. Like, this is who's under this person. And maybe you're like, that doesn't really make sense. Maybe I want to do it a different way. So that's really cool. And like, we don't have an HR department here. So if Nick has to complain, it's just to me, right? And it's a great deal here.
Or to no one. We'll figure it out.
Vic turns that hat backwards and like, hey, HR, nice to meet you. What are you crying about?
Yeah, I am the manager.
No, I
Get
think
back to fucking work.
I think that was cool. It was cool to see like how a good company culture should work and all that stuff. What do you feel like you learned?
I think like there's two main thoughts I have for that. I think for the first part, what you're talking about, like you get to be there, you get so much experience being around people that have been in the game for longer or even newer. Like that's also something, because like I'm 33, so I've been in the game for a little bit. So even when you're working with people that are fresh out of college, it's a whole different perspective, even from learning from people that are older that have been in the game for even longer. So it's really cool, like gaining experience from all sorts of people. But even the last, I guess all three of my main jobs I ever had, all were working with influencers of some sort. So it's also cool to see like what's working with that side of stuff, which eventually I was going to be at, whether it be what's working for them or even on shoots being like, oh, hey, I love this video you made. And then you can like bounce ideas off someone that's like, you maybe would have never met before. And so I think it's really cool from the experience side of thing. And then I think also a huge pro of having a full-time job and then also working on your own content, at least when I first started, is my personal content. I wasn't relying on it for a paycheck or anything at all. My full-time job's paying my bills, allowing me to buy the new iPad to make content on it, allowing me to create videos on things just because I'm truly passionate about it. And I didn't have any pressure on creating my own content. I was literally just having fun on my weekends because I was just wanted to do something that was super creative, fulfilling to me. And so I think that's something that's slept on a lot because it allows you to kind of have this freedom making content that you might not always have.
And I think the other thing too, bro, is like, you're able to use this time, like maybe you get PTO and you can go shoot something on, like you get a week off and you're paid to do that work.
True.
Whereas like if you're doing your own thing, you're probably not going to be paid for that week vacation that you're taking,
Yeah.
You get to it's like a nice, and it's consistent, dude. Every 2 weeks you're getting hit with a check. It's not like that when you leave, or like if you were saying earlier, if you're only relying on brand deals, or you don't have like consulting or whatever, that other skill or digital products, you could get to a place where like, damn, I made great money last month, but then this month we don't have any brand deals coming in,
Yeah.
I think, and that's important, I think, like what you were saying.
How soon into you making personal content and really taking it seriously did that first brand deal come?
I'm trying to think the very first one. I feel like everyone has a couple like random like one-off ones like pretty early on. But I think I would say, I guess like early last year, maybe like early 2023. Oh yeah, I remember it was like a speaker for like Anchor. I think that was at least one of the first. And it when I was starting to see some traction and stuff, and I think they paid me too much at the time, to be honest. But I think it like got close to paying for my rent for that month off of an Instagram post with 3 photos.
Wow.
And I was just like, this is crazy. Like this took me 3 hours start to finish to shoot, edit, to even come up with the idea. And I'm like, that one afternoon covered my whole month. Like that's an insane thought. And so it definitely took a long time to get to the brand deal point. Cause I think even like I've been doing YouTube now for, honestly, I think it's been 5 years.
5 years,
which sounds
no way.
long, dude. Like to me, that sounds too long to not be at where I want to be yet. But I think because maybe I've had slower growth than some, although some people would probably say that's faster growth than some too. It's all relative. That's also helped to create a really strong community. So, you know, everything's a blessing and a curse, you know, whichever way you look at it. So yeah.
Now, somebody hears that and says, I also want to pay my rent off of a couple
Sure.
photos. Do you have a few tips for kids wanting to start doing brand deals? Like, how does someone go from, okay, I want to make content. It'd be awesome to make this a full-time career, but you know, maybe I just want to make a little bit extra bread and I want to start doing brand deals and start working with brands.
Totally. I think, where are you still going?
No, that's the question. Okay, sorry.
I think for me, right, I think a lot of people when they start, like everyone wants to do a brand deal, right?
Yeah.
Like it's cool. You get something you usually are into, or at least you should be doing brand deals, something you care about, and you get paid on top of it. And I think a lot of people are like, okay, I'm just going to make dope stuff till like this company wants to send me something. And I think you got to flip it around where it's like, let's say, or I'll just tell you guys, for example, I really want to work with Beats. I'm wearing Beats right now. I buy everything that Beats drops, like every headphone, Bluetooth speaker, whatever. Investing in that, knowing that I think at some point, I guarantee I'll have that. Maybe not like an exact brand deal. I actually don't even think they necessarily do brand deals, but like to get on their list or like different seating things.
For PR.
Right. Because like, it's like one of the top 5 companies that I want to work with. And so like for me, I'm just never going to talk about a Beats product and hope that eventually I'm on their radar. And it's like, that makes no sense. Maybe someday that would work, but like, it's going to take so much longer. But if they see I'm already making this dope stuff, of course they want to get it in my hands because like, it's just, you know, it just makes sense. So for me, I think if there's a certain brand or company you want to be doing stuff with, I would show some sort of interest already in yourself. Or, you know, I think even from not even maybe a brand deal, but let's say you're looking for a long-term partnership. I think that's even like a different conversation. Like, let's say, I don't know, you want to work with
Artlist.io.
Sure. You want to work with Artlist and you've never even used any music licensing, you know, or you don't even use music in your videos. Like, why would they think you'd
bad
be a good
integration.
fit? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I think you just have to make it, again, going back to what I was talking about earlier, if it's part of what you genuinely do already, like for example, let's talk One Handed Crack. You guys should have some sort of a beverage sponsor.
Trying our hardest out here, man. Trying my hardest.
But I guarantee you will, you know, but it's just like at a certain point, right? And once you get to some level, like people know that a beverage or a can of something is related to you guys. So it just makes so much sense. Like eventually you'll get to a size where brands are wanting to be part of you. You don't have to do any outreach, you know?
I think Ed Lee said this too in a video a minute ago where he was like, you got to audit your content and be very real with yourself if your stuff is of the caliber that these other creators are at that are working with brands consistently. And I think that I got caught up in that space where I'm like, dude, I make pretty good videos. I make good content, but it wasn't at the level. And like, I go back and look at the ones from like when we first moved in here and I thought that shit was lit and it was trash. It was just dog water. And you really have to be real with yourself and say like, okay, is my lighting setup dialed? Am I speaking clearly? Am I looking at the camera? Am I not like looking off screen and being kind of like some, you know, whatever? And is my mic quality good? Or all of those little things that are dialed on other people's stuff. Is that happening with me? And I think when you audit your stuff and you you don't have to be wicked harsh on yourself, but you got to be honest and say like, am I at this caliber yet to where a brand, if I could throw, here's a great tool for you guys. Go look at the brand that you want to work with Instagram. And if you grabbed your video and you made a project for them, could they just post it? And would it fit on the feed?
That's a great idea.
And right, like you can be very honest with yourself when you do that.
That makes so much sense. And it's like, I think you have to look at yourself and be like, yeah, one, is my stuff at the quality? And then two, is it already like just a no-brainer? Like, I think you almost have to make it feel like the brand would be dumb not to want to work with you.
Yeah,
you know?
Exactly.
And if like that's the point you're at, like it's like you guys should have a beverage person or a beverage sponsor. And I guarantee at some point you will. And it's like, and let's say 2 years from now or whatever level you guys get to, let's say you're 1 million subs on YouTube, brands want to be part of that. Like it would be stupid for them not to be part of it, you know? And so I would look at yourself like that, even if you're at 100 followers or 100,000, make it so obvious that a brand should be working with you that you just have to make it happen.
Mm-hmm. We got a couple meetings scheduled for this upcoming week. So, you know, so I'm fucking hoping.
Maybe the next episode, dude. I'm just going to make the damn can myself. I'm just going to.
Dude, someday, why not?
I think we're setting it up.
Yeah, I'm going to make a sick drink one day, dude.
But I mean, someday, why not, dude?
All part of the plan.
Yeah.
It's coming, dude. It's coming.
Yeah. It's the same thing as anything. You're wearing it or you're using it in every video. It's like,
same as what you say? Same as what?
Like it's the same going back to anything we're saying. If you're using it in every video or you're wearing it in every video, you're talking about something in every video, like eventually, yeah.
Is there a type of content that you feel like you haven't been able to make because of the limitations of having a full-time job that you want to start bringing into your content? Like how are we about to, you said you've been doing this at maybe 20%.
Yep.
And you've been thinking about, all right, if I put 100% into it, what can this look like? So paint us a picture of you putting 100% of your time and energy into this. What does your content look like?
Yeah, I think for me, the number one thing I'm trying to work on is just figuring out what my cadence is actually going to be. And what I mean by that is just how my brain works is I usually look at my schedule kind of in a weekly basis. And I want to get to a point where I know, let's say I'm still dialing it in, but let's say it's 1 YouTube video a week and 3 verticals. And I would also like to throw in like a photo post too. And so if I know kind of like what I have to track or what I should be tracking for to like have my perfect week every week, I think that's kind of a really big goal for mine. So I'm kind of getting to that point now and figuring out if that's the right number or whatever that number is. And I think whether you're a full-time creator or even, you know, doing it as a side hustle, that's not a bad idea to how to look at it either. Like, oh, hey, I'm just going to get 1 video out a week. Maybe that's all you can do. But maybe you're someone where we're at Condo with this guy, Carter PCs, and he posts 4 TikToks every single day for the past like 1,000 some days.
Monster.
But that's just his cadence. So we're sitting there at lunch. I'm just like, how many videos you got left today? And he's like, I still got to film 2 more. And it's like, not even a question. He's just like, no one's telling him to do 4 a day. It's just like, I have to get it done. And so if I think you can get yourself to that point, it might be a lot of work, but also it's just going to make things easier because it's like, oh, you know, sorry, I can't hang out tonight. I have this video due tomorrow, you know, even though you're the one telling yourself it's due tomorrow.
But I feel like if you don't take it serious and you don't almost treat it as your full-time thing, it will never turn into your full-time thing.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think all of us, right, we treat our personal content or side hustle like its own business. Like the 505 podcast has gotten to the point it is because you guys treat it like a business. And same with my personal brand, your guys' personal brands, any of us, it's like you have to take it seriously for it to get to a successful spot.
You go?
I was going to say, like, you also need a little bit of delusional confidence.
Oh, yeah.
That was my exact line.
Absolutely.
He just stole it right out of my mouth.
Well, I'm going to...
And you're really delusional. And so, but we're here, you know?
But no, seriously, I mean... From like episode 1, me and Braden and Chase have talked about like we're taking this thing serious and this thing's going to the moon. And we weren't even getting 100 listeners from the get. We were just like, yo, we got something here. And if we just don't stop and don't quit, like it's turning into something. And we've almost just like willed our way to the position that we are now. And now seeing a little bit of success and being like, all right, like we're not kind of crazy. Like there's some proof. We got messages from kids, like our followers are going up, subscribers are going up, views are going up. Like we got something. All right. Then like you almost prove yourself right, and then you're like, you start dreaming bigger, and you're like, this is possible. I'm like, we're doing what we set out to do. Like, now what we talk about is like, we've gotten it to this point. Like, there's no stopping the train.
What's 10x?
Hop on. Do you want did you get your ticket?
Are you on
Not
the?
yet.
We'll send one to you in the
Okay,
mail.
yeah.
To the moon?
Yeah, I need
We're
it.
fucking
Yeah,
going.
we'll send one to you.
I'm on my way. Call Elon.
Dude, even like you've been doing YouTube though for 5 years, right? And when you start any of these ventures, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, a podcast, dude, you suck at 1st. No one watches.
yeah.
No one listens. People are probably sending you in the high school group chat, roasting you a little bit. You know, you love. Bring it on.
Yep.
And I think that you really do, like you said, though, you got to have like that delusional self-confidence that this thing's going to do well. And I also think that if you like it, it helps. If you enjoy it, if you don't like it, dude, it's and you're doing it for comments or likes or whatever, you're in a very lonely game because one day your videos might pop, the next week they might flop. And that's just kind of part of this, this game. How have you kind of dealt with that? Because when you're posting so much, you're going to get, one of them's not going to do well in the 10 or in the 20 or whatever.
Well, I think again though, that goes back to the cadence thing. So if I know I'm posting, let's say 3 verticals this week, of course I want each of them to do great. And if they don't, that stings a little bit. But if I already know in 2 days I'm posting the next one, like that's already my next focus. So like, damn, that sucks that one doesn't go. Well, hopefully this next one does.
So you think, because we want to talk about cadence for a sec.
Yeah.
So we're doing.
Do we?
Yeah, I read your mind telepathically. We're doing a YouTube video a week, right? That's all Nick. We got a podcast going out, and I feel like you're right on the 3 verticals. That feels like a good amount to where you can still do great quality and keep that quality up and
I think
post
like
consistently.
I think kind of like that you can't do every other day in a 7-day thing, but like
Yeah.
I think like I like the every other day cadence because I think it gives your audience a little bit of a break, but also allows you to have a pretty good quality video. And of course, it's going to be different for everyone. Some people can put together like a 10-second iPhone video and that's like their style of content. So maybe their output can be a little bit more. But I think at least like kind of the way we, like the 3 of us make content, it's like a good middle ground of being able to have output, but also still high quality. And there's always going to be the weeks, right, where maybe it's a little bit less or maybe a little bit more. You have a brand deal or something else like more important. So you might have 5 in a week, or maybe there's a week where you go daily, and then there might be a week where there's only 1, but it had to take a lot of time. So, but I think if you're tracking off of like your own schedule, then it matters less about how well it's doing, or maybe you care at least a little bit less because you're still hitting your goal. And your goal is like how much you're posting, not how many views it's getting.
Well, you're so right. Like, what you should be focusing on is the input. How much like energy and time are you putting into this goal? The output, the numbers, you're dealing with an algorithm. It's almost out of your control.
It is 100% out of your
And it's
control.
always changing.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, we don't know. No
Well,
one
I mean,
knows.
like, for example, like I have a lot of friends that are like pretty big in the tech space on TikTok. And I mean, they're making the same exact type of videos they were about a year ago, but instead of them getting 200K views every video, they're getting like 10K right now. And that has to be a crazy feeling, And it's just like, you're going to start having self-doubt or what am I doing wrong or all these things. And it's just like, sometimes the algorithm changes.
But dude, our TikTok's been stuck for months, and it's so weird because it's the same style of stuff that like, yeah, you're right. 6 months ago, we couldn't not hit 10 plus thousand, 20,000, 50,000. Every single one was going off. And then it's like, what happened, dude? Who pulled the plug on us?
I mean, something changed, right? I'm sure, because I think a lot of people are feeling that, especially with TikTok. But we all know, we've been doing this long enough. Every platform goes through these time periods.
Yeah, exactly.
But again, if it doesn't, just because TikTok numbers are down, doesn't mean you guys aren't putting out a podcast every week.
Yeah.
It's just like, again, because that's your schedule. So it's like, okay, well, that sucks. It didn't do as good as I think it should, but we're on to the next thing,
But going off of cadence, being inconsistent and then getting back to a point, like 1 week you post like 3, and you're like, I'm so fucking bad.
Dude. Dude, I was
we are so bad.
I was
Dude,
sitting
2
on
days in a row?
I was sitting on a beach in Hawaii drinking a frozen drink, posting my reel for the day, and I'm like, this feels good.
this feels right.
Yeah, I should do this more often.
You bring up that part of your cadence is posting photos, and you have the X106. So do I. Great camera. Braden just recently started, like, he asked me to borrow it, And he's like, dude, I need this camera.
I think I'm gonna cop one. I think it's gonna be good for me
Dude,
because it's
you might
just,
as well get on a wait list.
I know. You know what I might cop that's out now is that Ryko GR3 or something
I've
like
heard
that.
good things.
I've been
heard good
seeing
things.
every day, dude. This one kid, he has one, and his sick photos keep popping up.
Because he couldn't get the X100.
No, I think it's sick. Casey Neistat also posted like a month ago on Twitter and was like, "What's the hype with this thing?" He's like, "Should I cop?" And everyone,
So now everyone wants it.
everyone in the comments was like, "That is one of the best cameras."
Well,
right
and it's
now.
a fun thing because especially for me, I like just taking candid photos in general, like especially around my content. And so like, especially for myself with Instagram stories, I always try to do slightly like elevated stories, like then just like complete like BTS. And so since I kind of decided when I picked up that camera, I was going to do more and more photos, it's just so easy to take good looking stuff.
Yeah.
And it's such a simple thing. Like, cause in case anyone doesn't know, with these Fujis, you have a built-in recipes, which are basically just like baked in presets. And then there's like all these different things you can change to really kind of make it your own and like have your own look and feel. And everyone's shooting this camera. Most people are just shooting JPEGs, flipping it straight to their phone. And that's exactly how I've been utilizing it. And it actually has become handy for a few of these different like brand trips I've done. When I went to London with Jaguar, I kind of feel like I'm like when I studied abroad person right now. But it was a sick trip.
When I was in Barcelona.
Ibiza.
Yeah, pretty much. But for that trip, my entire requirement was just posting or sharing my experience on Instagram stories.
Yeah.
And so I had this.
We got water right here for you, big dog. He's just like, I'm just
good?
gonna die over here.
I don't know. I think I'm okay.
So wild. Picked it up and then thought about it. Didn't take a sip.
Yeah, that was
I don't
a
want that.
The
That was a
water.
I don't want that.
dude.
I'm going to drink some for you.
Yeah, yeah.
All right.
Water break.
We're so back, dude.
We are back, dude. We are so back.
I almost spit that out. That would have been the craziest clip. So I had this brand trip where literally the only requirement was to share my experience on stories. I was like, this is the perfect time to like utilize this camera.
Which, thank God those were the only requirements, huh?
Yeah. What happened to the SD card?
We're not going to go down that road. We're not going to go down that road. Make sure you back up your footage, everyone. All right. But so yeah, the only requirement was posted on Instagram stories. And so I was like, this is the perfect time to utilize a camera like this because I've just been so living on my FX3 and cameras like that for the last couple of years. And I honestly take a good amount of photos with my FX3, but it's kind of nice having a camera dedicated just like this is my BTS photo camera. And that's its entire utility of it, how I'm going to use it. And I just all day was just snapping easy photos, transferred all the JPEGs straight to my phone from the app. And at the end of each day, I had like 20 banger photos every day, and it seemed like the brand was stoked about it. And it was just, it was so easy because I've been on the other side of doing BTS where I'm shooting stuff on whatever pro camera, and then at midnight I'm sitting there editing and all this stuff in Lightroom.
They're in RAW. And
Oh yeah. And there's a benefit of doing it that way sometimes too. But just having something, as long as you can kind of dial in the settings, I shoot that thing in auto at the lowest aperture.
Call it a day.
And like some of the photos maybe don't turn out perfect. I don't use them, but it's just so easy to shoot and stuff. It made my life so much easier. I think that's something that all of us can try to do more of is figure out what tools you can get that are going to actually make your life easier, more fun to shoot, and it's going to help your output, all that stuff. And guess what? I had so many sick stories, great photo dump out of it, and some of my favorite photos I've taken just because it was so simple and easy.
Another piece of content that you've been dabbling in is the longer form vlog.
Yeah.
And we just vlogged Sony Kando. I have no idea how long that vlog's going to be.
Yeah.
Nick is going to be in the kitchen,
Yeah.
dude.
Yeah.
Cooking.
But that's something that we're going to dabble with as well. But I saw on Twitter, and we even talked about it, you were saying that like the response to that long form vlog was that you did for, what was it, Sony Camera Cam?
Yep.
Yeah, so how has your experience been with like long form vlogs versus a more like polished sit down talking head style video?
Those are so back.
Oh, dude. Listen, I love vlogs in general, right? Like, I think that's what a lot of us came up on, especially, the Casey and Peter McKinnon eras.
Did you watch Christians too back in the day?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah, they're like 40 minutes.
Dude, that's why I loved Ghost to begin with. It's
Yeah.
because he was the whole thing. He was dropping 30-minute videos because everyone was prepping.
Yes, they're
so they'd
prepping.
you're doing cardio for 30
Yes,
minutes. I'm
dude.
dropping a 30-minute YouTube video
Smart.
for you to like. So, yeah, that was like so sick.
Great entertainment too.
But
dude.
I don't think he was even a thing last time we did the podcast, but like Sam Solik kind of changed the whole
Mm-hmm.
world with this extremely slow paced long form videos. And I'm sure everyone kind of knows his style at this point, but all of a sudden people started kind of turning back towards wanting to spend some more time with, I think, their favorite creators, because I think, the whole 2020 era and those next few years, everything became shorter, faster, more things in your face. Words are popping up in a million colors, like overlays, all these things. So it became so intense and short. I think some of that still has success, but I think also people is like looking for something where they don't have to just scroll every 5 seconds onto the next thing. Like, I don't know about you guys, but I'm usually watching YouTube videos if I'm like eating, or I'll put on a podcast while I'm doing other stuff. Like, I enjoy longer stuff. And I think, so the pendulum started kind of swinging back to YouTube. And I think any type of creator usually wants people to go to YouTube eventually for a reason. Because I think building a strong community, there's no better way to do that than with long form content. And there's no other way to look at it. If you're spending 30 minutes with someone watching their video versus 30 seconds, there's a different connection there. And I think that's why even long form videos, but even like the streaming space, you guys just had Nadeshot on. He's streaming for like 10 hours a day.
Insane.
If someone's watching him for hours on end, dude, that's like basically just like a live podcast. And so you're spending so much time with these creators. Like, of course, you're going to feel like more part of their community.
Yeah.
And so I started dabbling more. Like, I've been doing vlog related content for a long time. For a while, like kind of like the 10-minute mark seemed to be pretty successful. But then I actually, funny enough, did a full week in the life last fall. And dude, it ended up being like, I think 2.5 hours of footage. And at the time I was just so swamped. I just got too behind on it. And then it felt dated. So I just scrapped it, which I hated to do. I still actually thought about still putting it out. But I started having this idea of like, I want to try this longer style content. And so within the recent months, I found myself watching more and more creators trying this longer style content. Even some of these like different fitness people and different creators. Like, I think, Lowe's like a good friend and truly like one of the GOATs.
45 minutes.
He's dropping 45-minute videos.
And they're great.
They're
like
so
movies.
good. Or
Yeah.
even like Ron Doug's another great one. Like, I have a few friends in the space that like all of us started trying this kind of longer style stuff and it was working. And so, yeah, the Camera Camp one, I think it ended up being, it's somewhere between like 30 and 40 minutes. I forget exactly how long. It took me a minute to edit for sure. But I was so proud of that because it was just really fun to edit, but also it felt like the most like raw and authentic video I've made in a really long time. Just because if I was sitting down filming a clip, I wasn't really concerned about how long it was. I just wanted to make sure I got my message across or like whatever feeling I was having. And so it was just super refreshing to edit stuff that way. And then it happened to do great. I had really good feedback on it because I think people are just like, oh, this is like sick to see like more of this side of you, And so I'm going to try to do more and more of that type of content. I'm interested to see how far it goes. But right now, this second, I would say my sweet spot is like 20 minutes plus if I can.
Wow. I think that we should try like a week in the life.
It's so much fun.
Yeah, I'll be at the gym before Coasty, and he can wait. Like when I'm leaving, you could probably go and stuff, and then we can.
Honestly, you both should film your weeks and like show the differences.
Oh, I like that.
It's kind of like
That's-
Hobbs and Shaw.
That's fun.
Remember that?
Yeah.
Like the intro.
Yes.
Oh, that could be fun.
That'd be
throwing
fun.
it back to Braden.
Yeah.
This is what I'm doing.
I like that.
Back to Braden.
I like that. It's fun.
Yeah, something like that.
Like he'd be napping a lot, and then
But
I'd
it's
be
like
like
you-
working and
oh,
stuff.
well, obviously.
I
mean, yeah, it's been interesting. I'm actually staying here for the weekend, so seeing how these guys live is, it's great.
It's
Happy to be here. by
You're
the way.
really seeing just us grinding 24/7.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean,
It does not stop.
real talk though, it's funny. I walked in this door. Braden's filming like what looks like a movie set here at this kitchen table. There's like another roommate like working on a video over there. I have to open up my laptop to get like this brand deal thing situated. It's just like, it's so much fun being around other creative friends, dude.
Infectious.
And like, hey, can you hold this camera real quick?
Yeah.
And like,
So
you know you're not
isn't
getting
it,
my
isn't
God.
it nice, dude? Isn't it nice? When
Yeah.
we're at the beach, that was so fun to just
Oh,
be like,
yeah.
oh yeah, grab
Yeah.
this, and you know you're getting a good photo. You know you're getting.
I mean, if you hand Braden the photo camera,
I took some good
if
photos.
you hand
I
Braden the
took
camera,
good
you're
photos.
like, it's 50-50.
well, when you have 3 extremely talented models, it kind of makes trouble
Damn,
easier.
yeah,
You know what I
I'll
mean?
take that. I'll take that. I'll take that.
Wait, fuck. What were we talking about though? Because there was something I wanted to say.
We were talking about
The long form
Long
videos,
form,
Hobbs
long
versus
form.
Schaub.
Oh, it's fine.
We do have the idea, which I think would be pretty funny. I don't know if we'll leave this in, but we think we want to do like long form vlogs, but then do like office style like interviews, like
bits.
Oh, for
bits
sure.
throughout. And
it'd
I
be
low key
funny.
think that could be something that's like different.
Put this big bright light and like
Yeah.
slap us up back against this wall. It's like, dude.
There's actually this creator that he's part of Ghost, so I met him through that. His handle's Brody Shreds, and he does fitness content with like office style interviews.
It's awesome.
Unbelievably funny, dude. Like, just hit like struck when the iron was hot. He's over mill and absolutely crushes from a standpoint of like all aspects. So like, dude, everyone. I think my buddy Big Rob always talks about this. If you can make someone laugh in content,
Yeah.
like it's pure joy immediately, and it's like that's such an easy like gateway into like having them enjoy your stuff. So yeah, humor is such an easy thing.
Yeah.
It's tough for Chase, obviously. Like he's
Yeah.
not as funny and stuff.
Yeah.
But-
You've gotten a little better.
Thanks. Yeah, I've been working on it and stuff.
Just comes pretty naturally to me. So,
Funny to look at.
anyways, it feels pretty good. What do you guys have anything else you want to talk about?
No, I think that was great.
You have anything else you want to talk about? Are you excited for Creed tonight?
Yeah, yeah. Oddly enough, I'm going to Creed
How
tonight.
are you gonna wrap your night up in LA?
Yeah, I'm ending my trip with a random trip up to go see Creed and Three Doors Down with Justine and Jenna. You guys got to get them on the pod.
I know.
We need to. It'd be fun.
I mean, also there's just so many cool creators in the space. I mean, you look at Kondo, how many people there would have been a good person to have on this podcast? Has to be
Well,
insane.
I'm really hoping Braden gets the full invite next year, and this is like in all seriousness, because I think it'd be so fun to do. No, I'm serious. Like, if you could talk to Justine about that tonight, that'd be like really great for
Hey,
us.
there's a kid who came from one day.
Yeah. I would genuinely love to set something up, and we could knock out, I'm not kidding, like 10 podcasts at Kondo.
No, I think we do a few months of research on people.
Yeah.
We get the list from them and we set up like our set there and we do like 10 episodes.
it'd
It
be
would be
sick.
awesome.
Dude, so much fun. And there's just so much talent in a place like
Yeah.
that.
Dude, okay, I cannot believe we got to tell you guys this last story before we jam out, but we're sitting there and there's this really swaggy guy and I swore that I knew him from
Oh,
somewhere, don't know where, can't put my finger on it. And then Jay comes back when we get back to LA and he's like, dude, Nigel Sylvester was there. And I'm like, that's where I knew that guy from, man. The craziest like BMXer, swaggiest dude I've ever seen in my life. So
He's just-
fitted.
He's one of those people where you're just like, wow,
It's got aura.
I need to level up in every aspect. You know, like
It's a great, yeah, he's got aura.
Got aura,
for
dude.
sure, like the definition.
Yes,
I went up
literally.
to him and I literally said, bro, you have your own Jordan 4 collab. Like that is goals.
So many cool people there that I've seen online for so long, and you're just all at the breakfast table, like everyone's just eating breakfast, and you're like, this is crazy, the amount of creative juices in this little patio area. It's just so cool to be around. And you're right, that is infectious.
My
It's-
girl was like, how's band camp? I was like, fuck you.
Summer
Cameron's
camp.
sick. Cameron's sick, and you know it.
That's so funny, dude. Hey, well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of the 505 podcast. You're still here. Please go check out a Lab Culture hat, sub to the channel, leave us a comment, drop us a like, and we'll see what's up.
I was just gonna say, check out Jayhawk because he's full time.
Yeah.
And he needs the fucking
show some
the
love.
subs and
Hey,
the
we're
love.
coming up to 100K. I'm at like
Come on.
89
Get
right
him to
now.
100K.
Get the man to 100K, and we'll see you guys all next week. Peace.